Welcome to the Sunrise Podcast, powered by Sunrise Labs.
Hello and welcome to the Sunrise Podcast presented by Sunrise Labs. I am your host today, Tyler Kern, and joining me is Brian Johnson. He's the president of MassMEDIC. That stands for Massachusetts Medical Device Industry Council, but MassMEDIC is obviously much easier to say. So Brian, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Tyler. I'm really happy to be here.
Absolutely. Now, MassMEDIC is the largest regional MedTech association in the United States with over 300 members representing manufacturers, product developers, suppliers, research institutions, and academic health centers. And so a big organization. Brian, let's just kind of start by talking about what MassMEDIC's mission is. What is the mission for MassMEDIC?
Well, I mean, in its simplest terms, we help maintain a healthy ecosystem for medical device innovators, medical technology innovators. So we try to make sure that the environment that people are operating in is, as clean as can be. And I mean that in a couple different respects. So companies that need each other to help develop technologies can find each other. We make sure that the folks in government understand the particular interests and needs of this community, because we are a little bit different. We're a highly regulated industry, so we're always working with our government partners to make sure that patients get the best care that they can get from our technologists. And we also try to connect people. All innovation journeys start with people, so we make sure that people who want to change the world can find the resources and the partners that they need. So, we have a lot of different sort of ways to say that, but I think that's how I like to think about it in a more conceptual sense, is that we just help make sure that the ecosystem for innovation in medicine is healthy.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned community there a couple of times, and just kind of having this group, this ecosystem. What are some ways that you as an organization go about fostering community amongst some of these companies?
Yeah, I mean, community is a really important thing to me. I think of community as a group of people with a shared purpose, a shared set of ideals. And the people in this community all have the mission of creating life-changing technology that is used by patients all across the globe. So really what we try to do is make sure that those people can find each other, it's a great time to be in this business. There's so many tools you can use to connect people. You can use LinkedIn, you can use other software platforms, social media. You can easily create events as small as 5 to 10 people to 200, 300, 400 people. So we do a lot of things where we try to create meetups, we create educational events, we create in-person signature events like our MassMEDIC annual dinner gala, our Women in MedTech Leadership and Networking Forum, our innovation salons. We try to create a lot of buzz that way. We also have webinars. And then we do a lot, frankly, of one-on-one people coming to us and saying, especially, small companies, single-person founders coming to us saying, how do we get this? How do we, achieve our goals? And we do take our time out because a part of our mission is fostering innovation. So we both, I do a lot of connecting with small company founders, but also through our Ignite program, which is our startup program, where we take 15, 16 startups and really lead them through a years-long curriculum of educational boot camps, connecting opportunities, mentoring with leaders in the space. So we do it through a lot of different avenues, but what we try to do is just continuously state the mission of our ecosystem, and that and our community, and our community's goals really are very simple. We're trying to make this world healthier through technology.
Yeah, and I think it's that stated goal and that maybe that shared ambition by everybody that's part of the community that really gives it, I suppose, a rallying point, right? That everybody has that shared goal, and so there's kind of that built-in support network almost.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I've always been attracted to with the health technology industry is, it's very mission driven. It's very much your mission is very easily articulated and easily expressed. you're trying to make people better. And I think, it makes it easy to follow a mantra that way. There are some industries where that might not be so, the mission might not be so cut and dry or so dramatic.
Sure.
But I love that about this industry, that, we really, well, we're doing good. We're changing people's lives. We're impacting generations of families in many ways. If you can keep, grandma or grandpa alive for 20 more years, think of what that, impact has on a family generationally. I think it's really humbling to be a part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've mentioned just that there's an innovation aspect to what you do. So when you look kind of over the next year or so, what's MassMEDIC's main focus over the next 12 months?
We really, we have some granular mission stuff that we need to take care of. There are still some, I think some legislative hurdles. There's this thing called the medical device tax, which was enacted when the Affordable Care Act was created many years ago. It's actually currently on suspension, but it's an excise tax on medical innovation. So we have to make sure to continuously push to make sure that permanently is repealed. We have to continue to make sure that our companies are aware of changing regulatory environments. It's going to become more challenging in Europe through some changes in the MDR program. So, we have to make sure that our companies are aware and prepared for that. Brexit can be, I think, is going to be a significant issue that we're going to need to really pay close attention to. But, I think, we've been pretty fortunate. We've had a good run in the industry here locally. We need to, not sort of think that's going to just go on forever without help and work. So we have some workforce issues that we have to continuously push for here. We have to help companies find talent, and we have to really push on the next generation of startups and help them be prepared for the journey of trying to fund and build great companies of tomorrow. Internally at MassMEDIC, I took over this organization officially, last year. So I'm completing my first full year here on the job. We're going to look to create a vision plan in 2020, which looks at the industry here in Massachusetts and New England for the next 5 years. So we're going to involve the community in that. We're going to continue to grow our Ignite program. And then we're going to continue to look for ways to really stimulate the community through our signature events. Because, we have a lot. It's a really interesting space. MassMEDIC represents big and very big companies, very small companies. We represent the companies that are, shipping out medical devices with their brand name on it, to companies that make the insides of medical devices. Companies like Sunrise Labs, which help, really play a key role in, building the brains and of a lot of these devices that go, so that's a sort of it's a hub and spoke operation here in our ecosystem. So small
Sure.
companies, it's all very interconnected. So, we have to, there's always different issues that we have to make sure that we keep our eye on, because, we really are looking at, from the very, very small companies to the very, very large companies. So that's it's a lot to keep track of.
Yeah, I wonder, just with an organization the size of yours, with over 300 members, how do you go about really sourcing different ideas for the future and ensuring that you kind of build a consensus for, hey, here are the steps, that we need to take over the next 5 years to really get to where we want to go?
Well, I think what we try to do is think very high level and say, what does this industry need to be successful? And then how can we make sure that those areas are what we're concentrating on? It's, you can't, with multiple hundreds of members, you can't, really think about just one member over the other. You have to really think of it on a large scale. I think I'm pretty fortunate in that I started my journey in MedTech as a publisher. So, I built and ran a publication called MassDevice.com. and and some other offshoots from that, a conference called Device Talks. For 10 years, I had sort of a front row seat for every single thing that was going on in the industry. So for me, it's a little easier to understand the broad brush stuff. We try to anticipate the needs of our members. I think that's the art of this. And then the science of it is, you have to talk to your members, and you have to reach out to your members, and you have to make sure that they understand you're here, and you're here to listen, you're here to help. So we do a lot of touching of our members through a lot of, go to attend a lot of meetings, both our own meetings and other meetings, and listen. I mean, it's fun, and it's fun to kind of take all that information, synthesize it, and come up with big trends.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are some of the challenges that just in the year that you've been in charge that you've been able to identify that you want to address moving forward? I think I heard you mention just that idea of fostering talent earlier, but what are some of the main things that have stood out to you?
In terms of challenges?
Yeah.
So, I mean, Massachusetts continues to be a really robust environment for investment in the space. But early stage investment is really still pretty slow. And startups need a lot of help. And they need a lot of help from, I think, parties that, are not looking to directly benefit from their success. So I look at our Ignite program as a really important element to helping solve those needs. Because what we're trying to do is give the founder an outlet where they can connect with other founders, so you don't feel so lonely, where they can think about the full journey of their company beyond just, I need to raise X amount of money. Because, as a founder, your journey is about way more than raising your A round. And I know that a lot of CEOs, especially the first-time founder CEOs, that can be the thing they bang their head against the wall about, most often. And what I try to tell them is look, the money is going to come. You need to understand what you're going to do with that money, how you're going to go from zero to commercialization. You need to think about the entire lifespan of this company as a founder, and not just pound your head against thinking about that money, because the money will come. But it's really about how you're going to execute when you have that money. That's going to be the difference between success and failure. And it's really about does the founder and the founding team have the skills they need to be successful as a team. So, a lot of people don't realize that most, ventures fail because the founding team can't execute, because they don't really, they're either flawed in their construction, or they don't understand how to have hard conversations, or they're, homogeneously created, so, I mean, it's, I could do this, and I'm your friend, and we like each other, so let's work together. That can be a recipe for real disaster. So I really look at that. I really look at that startup ecosystem as something we have to nurture, because without it, we really, what is innovation without the people who are really pushing the boundaries? Innovation always comes from the ground up. It doesn't come from the top down. So, we have to continuously reinvest back into that part of our ecosystem. So, I look at their challenges as our industry's challenges, frankly.
Yeah, it sounds like you have a real passion for the Ignite program. Is that one of the things that I guess gets you most fired up and that you're most excited about what you do?
I guess so. I was a founding CEO of my last venture. I started it from scratch. I did the whole journey. I got the bruises and bumps to kind of prove it.
Sure.
And it was the hardest thing I'd ever done besides parenthood, but it was also the most rewarding thing I've ever done besides parenthood. And I really feel passionately about helping founders. I think, everybody has a personal mission why they're attracted to their job. And I just felt like when I took this job, I said, what a great opportunity this could be to help people who are trying to do what I did. And, I really wanted to create that. So it's my personal mission to make sure that Ignite is a really important, impactful program. But, I think advocating for the entire ecosystem is really important to me. I really love I love MedTech. I mean, I think it is a chronically underappreciated technology sector. If you think about all the innovations that have happened in medical technology, medical advances, I mean, it's really astounding. I mean, it's on par with the space program. If there's no more hostile environment than the human body, and these people make technologies that live inside the human body. I mean, it's pretty remarkable. We can do everything from, you name it, we can do it in medical innovation. And I think people, because it has been such a reliable technology, I think often and it's created by engineers who are, I think, chronically undersell their impact. I think the industry really, my other mission is to make sure that people understand the incredible things that this industry is doing every day.
Yeah, sometimes industries and the people that kind of work in them and work kind of behind the scenes on some of this technology are so focused on the mission and so focused on helping people that often there's not like an in-zone celebration dance almost to kind of show the world, hey, like, look at what we've accomplished. And so sometimes you almost have to be that mouthpiece, right, to say, hey, look, like what's being done in this industry is actually really incredible, and it's not getting the credit that maybe it deserves. Yeah,
well, I mean, you're right. And I think it's probably a good thing that they don't celebrate, because they probably wouldn't continuously push the envelope. But somebody from the outside's got to say, "Hey, look at this incredible things that you guys are doing, and why aren't we celebrating that?" And I'm really lucky. I guess that's me at this point. That's fine. That's really what I'm probably best suited for. I'm certainly not somebody who could actually be in the field building a medical device or a digital health device or biologic. I'm not a scientist. I'm somebody in communications. So for me, kind of synthesizing and amplifying is a really that's more of my bailiwick.
Yeah, you and I can do the podcasting. We'll leave the building and the technology to to other people. But well, so since we're on that topic, let's talk about maybe some of the success stories. What have been some of the success stories that you've seen from MedTech startups that MassMEDIC has really played a part in?
Well, I mean, this association's been around for 23 years, and it's interesting. We have. For 22 years, we've held an innovation showcase where 20 startups get up and present to the industry, and so it's kind of the first unveiling for a lot of these companies. And I've had the pleasure of kind of going back over 20 years of this and seeing all these companies that are pretty darn successful now had their first crack at the whip here. The Ignite program was around for 10 years, and there are companies that are just doing amazing things, with multiple hundreds of employees and publicly traded who started, through that Ignite program. So, I hesitate to say MassMEDIC, we shouldn't take credit for things that happen. We're here to support. A company's success is based upon that company's work and sweat and tears. We're just trying to make sure that we help them, help make sure the environment's, healthy for them. But in terms of Massachusetts and the innovations that have happened here, I mean, it's one of the most fertile environments for innovation that you can ever imagine. It's been so for hundreds of years. This has always been this has always been an environment where people have dreamed big and even more importantly have executed on those dreams. I mean, everything from sort of, the first successful surgery with anesthesia was done here, all the way to, now we're using robotic limbs, and we're building surgical robots, and, we have companies that can have a surgeon perform a surgery from, 100 miles away from the patient. Mm-hmm. I mean, some of this stuff is pretty remarkable. I mean, it's science fiction. So, I grew up in the Boston area, so it's fun for me as a local guy.
Yeah.
To be able to tout all the really incredible innovations that have happened here.
Well, are there any events coming up where networking is going to be possible, or anything that your audience needs to be aware of coming up that you want people to know about event-wise?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really important that your audience understands that coming up in this fall in September, the MedTech conference is coming to Boston, and this is a really important conference for the industry. It's presented by AdvoMed, which is the National Association for the Medical Device Industry, and it brings in about 3,000 people from across the globe. All the big players in MedTech are coming into town. We need to showcase, and this is our chance to really showcase what we do best. And I want to make sure that we set attendance records for this thing, because it's coming through here for the first time since 2012. It goes around to all different parts of the country, so it's our chance to really be to showcase and celebrate Massachusetts. So I hope your audience takes a look at the MedTech conference and attends, and just stay close to MassMEDIC. We have all the local events that are of interest up on our website. We have a great community calendar. We're always updating via our newsletter. So we're a resource for the community, so they should use us, and we'll have a couple nice events coming up in the fall too.
Excellent. And what's the website if people want to go find more information about MassMEDIC?
Pretty easy, massmedic.com.
Excellent. That is easy. MassMedic.com. So head there if you want more information about events coming up in the fall and so much more. So Brian Johnson, the president of MassMEDIC, thank you so much for joining me today and talking a little bit more about what MassMEDIC does and how you're helping in the MedTech community.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Sunrise Podcast presented by Sunrise Labs. We'll be back soon with another episode.